On the Giving Current today, it's exciting because we have Sandra Diamond, who has been an attorney in our community for more than 35 years, an estate planning attorney, but has spent a good deal of time on and off of PCF's board. I totaled up more than 25 years of service on PCF's
That's
board.
amazing.
In multiple iterations. You have been a wonderful member of the community, care deeply about organizations. We love to start and figure out more before we get into a lot of information. How did you end up here? How'd you end up in Pinellas, in law? What got you to this point?
Well, I'm a native Floridian, one of the few, and I'm from Miami and left to go to college, and then married a guy from Philadelphia. And I assumed I would stay in the Northeast, but he loved Florida, came here on vacation, and he was a physician and was determined to come back to Florida and answered an ad in the New England Journal. And we ended up in some place called Largo, Florida, which I had never heard of. Someplace. And we came here, and he started his medical practice, ended up at USF and then at All Children's, and raised our kids here and have been here ever since.
And you are your main office is in St. Petersburg now, but you had a long office location in Seminole.
I did, and I started, like many estate planners, I was fortunate to start at Fisher and Sauls. So Fisher and Sauls was led by Louis Adcock, who was a mentor to many estate planning attorneys in Pinellas County in the west coast of Florida. And so for those of us who were lucky to train under Louis, I took a job. I kept applying for jobs. I was a young mom. I had two little kids. I was trying to figure out, how do I go back to work? What do I do with my kids? And somehow I ended up there and got a job, and had never thought about going into estate planning. I thought I was going to be a litigator. I was very interested in constitutional law, was going to argue some great case someday in front of the Supreme Court, but they needed an estate planner. So I became an estate planner.
So you mentioned constitutional law, and you have, beyond what you have done as an estate planning attorney, have lots of public service that you've done, a lot of volunteerism in the community. Where does that come from? Do you have family history there?
So I do. My dad represented Miami in Congress for 40 years, and, was pretty committed to the community. And I think that it just was in my DNA. But I have to say, beyond that, I have to give Louis credit, because the young attorneys coming through that law firm, he would call us in and he would say, I think you should volunteer for this agency. There's an opening on this board, and I've sent your name in. And it was just expected that as a young lawyer, you would join a community board. And not only would you join it, his expectation is that you would lead the board at some point. So I think all of those young attorneys got that training.
And then you pass that down to your children as well.
Yeah. So my daughter is a physician, and my son, Ben, was in the Florida legislature, and now he's my law partner.
And he spends time on nonprofit boards, giving back to the community.
He now chairs the Free Clinic and has been on a number of boards. So we love being part of this community. This is a great community. And since I've been here for over 40 years, I've seen it grow and change. So it's been a wonderful experience.
So in estate planning, it's a lot more than just a will. People need to be thinking about what's going to happen after they pass away. So tell us, what does it actually cover, and why does it matter?
Well, I love being an estate planner because you get to sit down and you get to know your clients, and you get to help your clients solve problems. You get to help your clients follow their passions. Mm-hmm. And I think that many people come in and they think that estate planning is just a will, but it's really helping people plan not only after their death, but more, as I tell them, more importantly, what's going to happen during their lifetime. Are they, who are they going to rely on to help them if they become ill or incapacitated, either temporarily or permanently? And what structure and documents do they need to have in place to do that? Their assets are going to get to somebody when they die, with or without an estate plan. Obviously, if you have an estate plan in place, it's going to get where you want it to go in the most cost-effective way, in the most tax-efficient way. So we help people through that process. I think one of the things that people come in and don't understand is it can be very simple, and very often individuals try to make it overly complex. What I see is people wanting to be able to control every contingency. If this happens, then I want this happens. But if that happens, I want these 3 other things to happen. And I think that many of our clients have an unrealistic view of how complex it is when they die, even when they do a plan under the best of circumstances. And the best of circumstances is that they have a plan and that their beneficiaries, their family, their fiduciaries are all reasonably amicable and on the same page. That's a perfect world. It rarely goes down that way, unfortunately.
I bet you've seen some interesting things. Tell us a story. What have you seen that is maybe of somebody that wasn't as prepared as they?
Well, we see a range of things. The most common thing we see, regrettably, I will call it the sibling rivalry comes to life. And suddenly, after mom died, it was, she liked you better than she liked me. And you had a better 10th birthday than I had 10th birthday. And somehow people kind of harbor these small injustices. And it comes out in a lot of very unpleasant ways when mom dies. And then we see a lot of crazy stuff too, like people fighting over tangible personal property. I would say that's the biggest thing. It's easy to divide a bank account into 3 parts. It's not so easy. So I had an estate. The mom canned peaches. And she had in her pantry a lot of peaches that she had canned. And these 2 daughters argued over who was going to get most of the canned peaches and what was the cost of shipping the canned peaches to Ohio.
Oh my God.
Spent a lot of time over the canned peaches.
Wow.
The money that was wasted over peaches. But
absolutely.
They're meaningful.
And I don't think mom, if she thought about it, she could have dealt with it. But I don't think she thought they would fight over the canned peaches.
The things that you can plan for, and the things that just pop up. How many times, say, a lot of people do their estate planning or begin that process maybe when they first have kids. And if you start then, how many times during your lifetime should someone reasonably expect to update that?
Well, we tell our clients to take a look at it seriously every 3 to 5 years. And more specifically, they need to look at it every time there's been a major change in their family. There's been a death, then there's been a marriage, there's been a divorce. You need to look at your documents and say, did I plan for this? And the other thing is, supposedly we have a permanent estate tax in place right now. Most estate planners put that word permanent in quotes. For right now, we know it's $15 million per person or $30 million for a married couple. Will it stay that way? I don't know. But whenever there's a major tax change, people need to look at their documents. More importantly, what we've seen over the last, 5 years anyway, we've seen this incredible rise in the value of many people's estates, whether they're their IRAs or their regular investments. And suddenly, people have more money than they used to. They may not feel they have more money. They're still paying $5 at the gas pump. They're still struggling to take a vacation every year. But on paper, their houses are worth more, their IRAs are worth more, and they need to take that into account for their estate plans.
Right. On the charitable planning side, through estate planning, oftentimes clients are charitable. And that's a time that oftentimes they're very generous, more so, I think, because a lot of times you have more opportunity to give or bigger gifts when you're gone. You might not need the house anymore, or you might not need the IRA anymore. How do you talk to clients about charitable giving, and what have you found helps clients move well through that process?
I think it comes up naturally. I think charitable planning is part of the conversation with most of our clients because they either bring it up or it's a natural fit for that client. For example, we have many clients who do not have children. Their children have predeceased them or they never married. And for those clients, if they're single or if they're married, charities almost always come into the conversation. The other thing we're seeing is a lot of very dramatic wealth in this area. People don't think of Pinellas County maybe like you would think of Winter Park or Naples or Palm Beach. But there are a lot of people retiring here, business owners who have very significant wealth, over $50 million, up to $300 million. Those folks, I often see, even if they have families, they want to include philanthropy as part of their plan. And often they want to include their families in that planning process. So we see it in a lot of different ways.
How do you help navigate what charities they're going to choose? What if they don't know a charity, or what if they can't make up their mind on a charity?
That's a great discussion. Most of my clients come in with some idea, some connection, often a passion, whether it's their own undergraduate institution, whether it's a medical institution, driven by, an illness in the family, or it's kind of a field of interest. I'm interested in the environment. I'm interested in animals or literacy for kids. The large majority of people have some interest. It's rare that you find somebody who wants to be charitably inclined but has no idea. That's pretty rare. So we try to follow the lead of the person we're talking to.
Have you, in your history of working with all different kinds of people, besides Peaches, found anything that you would say is unique when it comes to gifts left for charity or unique ways of doing that?
For charity specifically, well, the most common, very common part of a conversation is certainly individuals who have highly appreciated assets. And those individuals, sometimes those conversations come up with lifetime gifts. What are we going to do? We're selling our business, or we're about to sell our business, or we have a piece of real estate and it's just exploded in value. And we really don't want to get stuck with the whole capital gain. What are our options? And so, for those folks, we're talking about some maybe tax planning and how they could benefit, charities now. People leave all kinds of things to charities. I'm working with someone right now who had some rental condos, and she just has had it. She said, I can't put up with it anymore. I'm in my 90s. I'm tired of dealing with the tenants and collecting the rent. And she's going to give them away during her lifetime. So we've seen that. But highly appreciated stock is often a motivator to get somebody talking about it.
I have to ask, how many conversations are you having now with clients who have crypto as a part of what they're doing?
That's an interesting question. I have a few clients who have some significant crypto. I have yet to have a client use crypto to make a charitable gift.
Mhm.
I know that they're doing it. I've talked about this issue, publicly. How do you do it? How does a charity safely accept crypto?
Mm.
How can you liquidate it safely? But some of my clients, when I look at our asset questionnaire and they have crypto in there, then we begin to have a discussion about that. What do you expect to happen to this crypto? How do you want to handle it? We're beginning to see it.
Mhm.
Even with some, I would say, surprising. I'm surprised by a couple of the clients who have it. They're seniors.
Mhm.
They seem pretty retired, pretty conservative. You would expect that their portfolios would be heavily weighted to treasuries,
Mhm.
and yet they have this crypto component
Wow.
Yes.
because it's been successful.
Mhm.
Is it an issue passing it down though? Is it an issue
It
going
can
through
be an
probate?
instant issue. I don't know of any, I talk to my friends who are doing estate settlement and trust settlement. There are not a lot of people yet where the crypto has matured because the client has died. I had one family and we thought we were going to have a problem because they couldn't find the key.
Mm.
You have to have the
Yeah.
key.
Yes.
Initially, they didn't think they could find it. They did. It was a very small
Mhm.
amount of money. And ultimately, they handled it and we didn't have to get involved. But that's a problem.
It's an
Mhm.
issue. Yeah.
I would ask you, are you all getting any crypto gifts?
We have not. We're set up, and our gift acceptance policy will allow for the acceptance of crypto, and we have a plan and process for how that works. We had someone who wanted to give a very significant gift of crypto, ultimately gave a highly appreciated stock, and they had purchased Apple stock back in the report that I received, 95 cents a share ish.
Wow.
And decided to give that instead.
Yeah.
But fits the profile that you were talking about, is someone who is older and you would think is quite conservative, and they were looking at their iPad while we were working together, looking at how things were going and what was happening, and the money goes up and the money goes down. But more of the conversation was about a spouse at the table who was like, well, if something happens to you, I'm not the one who does this every day. I would appreciate it if you might get rid of it,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to worry about it someday. Yes.
Well, we're all going to be dealing with it, I think, more.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to ask is, how do you partner with PCF with clients?
Well, I was on the board, when Tom Bruckman was here, not when Ralph Richards started it. It was sometime after that. And the foundation was a very different entity then. It was much smaller. You didn't have donor advised funds. So it was a much different feel. But for all of my clients who want to make a gift, and particularly who want to have an endowed gift, and are concerned about just writing the check to the charity and what will happen,
Yeah,
or
if
who
they
are-
give too much, it
Right.
could put the charity under.
or who are concerned about vetting the charity. This, I know this specific charity, but I don't know a lot about it.
Mm.
Does it have the oversight? Does it have the leadership? Does it are their financials sound? And so if they can't go on, Charity Navigator, or one of the other sites, what would they do? And so I love the idea of a community foundation, and I always talk about it with my clients because it has the obvious advantages of it has professional oversight and management. It allows the client choices, particularly if they want an endowed gift as opposed to a pass-through gift.
Mhm.
And I have very few clients when you start talking about the alternatives, which might be a private foundation, and you're comparing the administrative costs and the setup time and getting IRS approval as opposed to doing it through the community foundation. And now that the community foundation, uses donor advised funds in such an effective way, it's really a platform for many of my clients who want to make charitable gifts.
35 years in Pinellas County. I bet you've seen a lot of things change.
More than that, closer to 45.
Wow. 45 years.
Yeah, maybe a little more than that. 1978, we moved here. Yeah.
Darn it. So what have you seen change?
The county has changed dramatically. When we moved to Clearwater, and then we ended up in Safety Harbor. I didn't even know that St. Petersburg existed. And candidly, there wasn't much reason to go to St. Petersburg. And so, St. Petersburg is now this vibrant, growing hub. When I ask my new clients, many of whom have just moved to Florida, what brought you to Florida? And I have clients from all over, but specifically, what brought you to St. Petersburg? And it's so interesting how people get here. I came to visit my college roommate. I came to visit my mother's brother's sister, or whatever.
And I never left.
Or we were in Naples and we were driving north to do something. And on the way out of the state, we stopped to see the Dali or whatever. Or we went to a Rays baseball game. And suddenly people are buying houses and moving. And look at the explosion in North County and look what has happened. So, my other passion, other than the Pinellas Community Foundation, is I was on the board of Johns Hopkins All Children's for over 35 years. And I track the change there as it reflects the change in the county. And not only did we build a new hospital in St. Petersburg that was drawing from 17 counties up and down the West Coast, we're building a new hospital on 75 at Wesley Chapel because that's where the growth is.
Yes.
So all these new families are coming into the state.
Yeah.
They can't afford to move in Pinellas anymore because we're the most densely populated county in the state of Florida. Mm. So they're moving up and out and expanding. So, you see it and you feel it. We all feel it, whether it's North County and the beautiful beaches up here, whether it's Dunedin. Look at sleepy Dunedin.
I know.
I mean, now you go on a weekend and you've got to be careful because you can't park because there's always a festival in Dunedin, So there are lots of exciting things going on.
I mean, going from the Vinoy was abandoned back in the day when I was in high school, and now it's just a thriving center of the community.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a great place to live. When I grew up in Miami, I don't think I had ever. I think I had some conference here or something. I didn't know anybody who lived at St. Petersburg or Clearwater. I never heard of those cities. Mm-hmm. And now they're a vibrant part of Florida.
For sure. So as we close out, just a few rapid fire questions, I'd say. One of them being summing up, can you sum up philanthropy with one word?
Passion.
It's a good fantastic. I think we see many people in the work that we all get to do where passion is at the heart of their philanthropy.
All right. Favorite hidden gem in Pinellas that most people don't know about, or ones people do?
Oh, wow. That's a great one. Favorite hidden gem. I'd have to say Weeden Island.
Oh, it's so beautiful. We were just out there a couple weeks ago.
One of the things I didn't realize about Weeden Island is that there used to be long ago an airport there.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
Yes. So interesting Pinellas County history.
And archaeology sites.
Yeah. Yes. So my late husband was very interested in the Timucuan Indians. And so we have an Indian mound in Philippi Park and Safety Harbor, and there's one in Weeden and, all over. So we sort of followed those.
Oh, neat.
And you have been a fantastic attorney for many years. If you weren't an attorney, what would you be doing, do you think?
Well, I'd be playing pickleball.
Professional pickleball player.
Awesome.
Um, and we want to thank you for being on our show. And we would love to make a donation to a charity in your honor. Is there a charity that's special that you'd like to tell us about?
I would. I am very interested in the Shirley Proctor Poem Foundation.
Yeah.
And it was started by Bridget Heller, and it helps, underserved kids in an after-school program that's, becoming very, very effective. And she's a very passionate person, honoring her mom, who was involved in education in South Pinellas. And so that's where I'd like
Yay.
the contribution.
We love them.
Yeah.
We do. They have been a long-time operating grant recipient, and I think one of the great things about Pinellas Community Foundation, I think, is our ability to look out for things that other people might not be looking at in the community. And Bridget credits us with being one of their first, sort of, as an institution, funders to connect with the work that they were doing. So it's special that you choose them.
And I just want to say, as part of the community, the thing I loved the most about the Pinellas Community Foundation were the operating grants.
Mm-hmm.
So we make operating grants to all these small charities. And it's just remarkable how many small, charities we have in this county. Many of whom are doing broad things, but many of whom are doing very specific things. And I found when I was on the board that, those operating grants were very important to people. They could get a grant for a van or a specific program,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they had to keep their lights on, and they had to pay the salaries of their staff. So that was something for me that this foundation did that was enormously helpful.
And we continue to do, and now we've changed it to 2-year operating grants.
I saw
so
that.
Organizations can budget, and maybe if they hire a new staff person, be able to afford to keep them on.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great idea.
Thank you very much for being with us, for all that you've done for PCF, for our community. It's been fantastic to talk to you today.
Well, it's been a privilege working with you all and being part of the community.
We appreciate
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.